Welcome everyone, today we'll have an endgame updated build guide for the Spiritborn with Crow Volley. As you can see behind me, we're currently watching one of the fastest Chinese content player who has cleared pit 150 within under 3 minutes. So let me quickly skip forward to show you guys the speed of this particular clear. I do believe he takes his clear in under 2 minutes and also 48 seconds. So in this video, we'll look at the changes and also update of how this player was managed to clear super fast with pit 150. And yes, he is not using any bugs, any abuses with resolve, any gear crafting, and I did check his resolve count and everything looks legit. So he's trying to do legitimately to clear pit 150 without using any bugs or abuses that I can see and also I can identify. So we'll be learning with him the changes of the build, the mechanics, and also the skill rotations, and also how to deal with monster density, the map sort out, and also together with selecting different bosses, everything related to push for the end game and also push for the invisible leaderboard. Yes, a little unfortunate we don't have a leaderboard at the moment for season 6 because everything is so broken, right? And he is one of the fastest Chinese players to push for this high, and he was also the world's first Chinese player who has posted to clear pit 150 way before at the start of the season. And what you can see for this build is, yes, he is going back to Mystic Circle. Now it's very important for us to understand, it's not that Mystic Circle is always better, but rather they have done the calculation and also min and max attack speed, everything related. The Chinese players determined that Moonrise gave you a lot more attack speed, and this is good for 90% of the public. But once you go to the extreme end of the gears and also min and max your attack speed, everything related, you can cap out your attack speed. And this is when Moonrise falls off a little bit because you're capped in attack speed, which I'll show you guys the calculation. So there is the Chinese calculation over here, they talk about this, and I have found the English translation of the calculation. So we'll go through the maximum attack speed and how this affects your frame rate and also attack speed and also the breakpoint. After reaching the breakpoint, the Chinese players are no longer using Moonrise for more attack speed, and they're going back to Mystic Circle for the highest damage boost and standing in the circle. Now of course, we're still used to the vulnerability explosion, so at the end of the fight, we're still fishing for bosses that can summon, because this just does so much damage and it's incredible that within a few seconds the boss disappears like this. So it is a must have to go with vulnerability explosion, but we have changed a little bit in terms of the Paragons and also in terms of the aspects and also the gameplay style to push for under 3 minutes for pit 150. Now before we dive into the builder's guide, a big thank you and credits to暗黑泽泽. You might have heard his name multiple times in our videos because I have been learning from him a lot. And by the looks of it, he is not abusing the bugs that is related to the game. Notice he only has 26 maximum resolve. And I do believe this is coming from 13 and also 13 from the gears, and he's not getting resolve anywhere else. If he was abusing the bug, he will be on 18, 18, 36 maximum resolve. So he can be way powerful and also broken if he was using the bug or the trick everyone was using to gain more damage. So this is very nice of him, and I have been following and also learning from him. If you do come over to his Spiritborn channel, you can see that he has constantly been pushing with different build and also different setup. 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and also 2 minutes. So he has done a lot of pushing for the end game for the Spiritborn. So now coming over to the Chinese players updated builder's guide. Now if you have been following a previous builder guide and we're using Moonrise Ring, that is perfectly okay, because they done the calculations, it is better for 90% of the players until you min and max your gears. So about this particular build, now he has decided to go with additional damage against fear enemies up to 40% on the helmet with apprehension. In terms of the chairs, we're using the Force Death, it's just too good for damage bonus and also maximum life. And also +1 to the all passive, it's just too good to pass. In terms of the gloves, we're going with redirected force, that's very straightforward, and the pants we're going with interdiction, and that's the core concept of the build. Duelist for additional ferocity and also bonus attack speed. The catalytic one is a must-have together with the Banished Lord's Talisman. And we have mentioned earlier about going with the Fell-Through Slayer, and this one allows you to explode monsters and dealing a lot of damage against AoE monsters once they have one monster dying. The biggest change over here is going to be this. In the previous build we used Moonrise for additional attack speed, But once the Chinese players have min and max the gears, they'll notice they pretty much have 2 or 3 GA gears, guys. This is no joke. If you want to follow this high-end build, you gotta be aware they have 2 to 3 GA items. And yes, most of them are 2 to 3 GA, and this range, 3 GA, right? So once they min and max everything, they actually cap the attack speed. This is why they're going now with Mystic Circle for more ferocity stacking damage, no longer going with the Moonrise for additional attack speed. Now here we're going to jump over to some of the information that was shared among the community, and you might have seen those images before. Let me quickly explain this. It might be hard to understand this one. So basically what the Chinese community is saying is there is a breakpoint for attack speed. So come over to this image sent to me by one of my clanmates, which was a while ago. So basically you calculate how much attack speed you get from each part of the game. Ferocity stacks will give you up to 60% attack speed. The Ring of Moonrise give you about 20, and whatever attack speed you have on the ring, on the amulet, on the gloves, on the Paragon, you add all of that up. And once you add all of that up, if you're around 123, you hit the first breakpoint. If you're around 140 plus, you hit the next breakpoint, and the final breakpoint is to hit 163 bonus attack speed percentage. And once you hit the 11 frame bonus attack speed breakpoint, you no longer need more attack speed to min and max the build. So this is what the Chinese players have been saying, and yes, this shows you how many hits per second. At the final breakpoint, you're doing 2.9 hits per second, while at 13 breakpoint, which is 123 attack speed, you're doing 2.4 attack speed per second. It is quite sizable, but it's not the biggest deal. But once they have min and max this is when they decide to take away Moonrise for more attack speed, but rather going with the Mystic Circle, which allows them to deal even higher attack speed while having more ferocity stacks. Now, some of the most important gears and also stats you want to notice for this build is that he does have a lot of great effects, right? So maximum resource and also maximum life is a must-have, while rolling 3 times into maximum resolve stacks is very, very powerful. In terms of the gloves, you don't need lucky hit chance to be a great effects, just maximum life and crit volley is definitely enough, and those gloves will be selling for a lot. Here notice he's still got basic skills and also plus armor. He'll preferably want maximum life over here. And again, dexterity, maximum life, and also maximum armor over here, together with attack speed, maximum life, resource reduction onto those rings. Now over here he does have some dexterity, because dexterity will enable him to reach some breakpoints into the Paragons, which allows him to unlock the double effectiveness of the golden knots. And this is quite important for you guys to notice if you want to follow the build exactly. Now this is also the case in terms of gear socketing. Notice he's going with maximum barrier generation for 2 of the gears, but he's going with maximum dexterity for 2 of the gears to hit the breakpoints into the Paragon points so he can get more stats. So instead of going with all barrier generation, he actually preferred to go with more dexterity into the gem socketing over here. So make sure you guys are aware of this, because the balance of dexterity is very, very important to min and max your damage. Now briefly going over the skill trees and also Paragons. There hasn't been any major changes. What I can notice is there is 5 points allocated to the hunt. This allows the hunt to deal even more damage, and this in return allows you to reset the hunt even more as you play the game, which can become a mobility skill, and this also empowers your damage because of supremacy. The Chinese players have kept supremacy almost over 25 all the time, and you do want at least 25 to 30 stacks of supremacy, which I'll go through with you guys in the skill rotations and also the tips for higher pushing. Now in terms of the mercenaries, we're going with all the left hand side and also more frenzy, attack speed, 10% attack speed over here, and this is whenever you're in combat. Notice that this 10% attack speed can also be counted as you count towards your frames. So you can add another 10% attack speed coming from followers if you want to min and max. Now, coming over to the Paragons, and let's go over to the selection of the glyphs over here. I think that's the most important, as most of us can follow the rest. So we're going with Spirit at the start, which give us additional critical strike damage multiplier. It's probably better if I enlarge this one, yes. So the next one we have is going to be Ritual. If you're running Mystic Circles, you want Ritual, and what I heard is Ritual has been fixed. The potency have been buffed, and this means all the potency now works correctly for more damage. And over here we have Colossal, of course, because we're still stacking resolve stacks for more damage. Next glyph we have is going to be over here, and we have Hubris. Hubris is considered to have higher multiplier to magic nodes, which give us higher maximal damage in terms of maximal resource. And the vulnerability bonus increase is not bad for this build. And finally, we have Fulminate. Fulminate will give you additional damage against healthy and also injured enemies, and it's a great boost of damage to get them. Now you can notice this Chinese player is almost reached level 300. I do believe in the video, how much is he? Because he's been pushing, right? In the video, he was level 285. So this new Paragon is now updated to 285 with only 15 points left. And for the rest of the 15 points, you can take and give to see whatever resistance you're missing, so to see whatever bonus damage you want to go, or maybe some resource generation or other perks that can enhance your build if you're already over 285 for your Paragon. Now for the cases you're under level 285, the Chinese players have mentioned that for the first Paragon, which you are getting additional critical damage, this is the one you can sacrifice. You can reduce the dexterity picked over here, which is up to 90, right? You can reduce dexterity to 40, and that's enough. Because the bonus critical damage is not going to be significant for the build because you have over 10,000 bonus dexterity or 10,000 bonus critical damage because of that. So do be aware of this, guys. If you're short on Paragon points, you can have the first Paragon board onto 40 dexterity, and that's okay. The only downside of doing this, you'll have less dexterity, and this might not help you make a max build for the ultimate endgame, as we talk about, getting more dex over here and more dex over here. Now coming over to the skill rotations and also concept for pushing for high dungeons. Well, it is quite straightforward. Stand in the circle, cast Vortex, one shot or two shot everything, and focus on the little monsters first to explode them. Now here, one thing to notice, you can skip or you can kill the purple monsters quickly. If you don't find yourself to be able to kill the purple monster quickly, you can actually skip one pack or two simply because the purple monster will take too long. Notice the Chinese players is not intentionally dragging a lot of waves, because it's actually quicker for him to kill and also take down the waves than dragging for multiple elite packs. This is because he will also be constantly debuff monsters and also slowing them. The monsters will be feared, and also sometimes they just don't reach you enough, and it's not time efficient. So notice that here sometimes he sees the purple monsters, he drags them together into the circle and finish them off. Now for a majority of the gameplay, you can see it is straightforward. He will be focusing on the elite monsters, and also as the monster around them dies, he will take them down. Sometimes notice here he tries to skip the purple monsters and then just bypass them. You don't have to always kill the purple monsters because this will take a little longer time, and sometimes it's not worth it. But other times, if they get dragged into the fray, you focus the purple monster on first and then you take down the rest. And notice here he was unable to kill the elite very quickly because he was all the monsters around him. It is okay to skip that, and sometimes it's actually better to skip that to go for a new pack of elites than try to take down one single elite. And I do think this is one of the biggest tech for him to push for faster. Of course, monster density, monster tabs, and also different maps layout will affect how fast you can push for the highest leaderboard. But after a few tries, you get the hang of it. And as for the bosses, you do need a boss that can summon. If you find a boss that cannot summon, instead of taking 10 to 15 seconds to take down the boss, it will take you over 2 to 3 minutes. And this is the biggest part. And I do believe 60% of the final pit boss will summon monsters. And if you do find a boss like this one that summons, it is perfect to push for the higher pit, and if you want to go for the invisible leaderboard. Now that we had a look at some of the endgame for the Spiritborn, in the futures, guys, I'll be looking into majors or sources, which I have seen a really good sources over here, and which pushes for pit 111 in under 2 minutes. So 1 to 2 minute pit 100-111 speed clear, and those new class builds looks amazing. So I'll be updating with you guys with other type of classes and also builds that can also push for the endgame and also speed clear for a lot of content. So stay tuned and also subscribe for the latest update for Diablo 4 and also Path of Exile 2 to come. Very excited for the new game in November 15th.